Hello and welcome to this tutorial, and in this tutorial we'll be learning how you could add multiple event listeners to a single activity. Now in the previous tutorial we have handled a single event, and that event was of a button click. So in order to handle a button click, we have used a listener which is called as the on-click listener. So on-click listener is basically a listener which identifies when a button is clicked. So what we had done in the previous tutorial is that we have created the on-click listener, we have created the interface for the on-click listener, and then we have added a callback method into it. So what used to happen is that when we used to click this button right here, the text here would change. Now in this tutorial we are attempting to add one more action listener, and that is going to be the long click listener. Now the long click listener is different from the on click listener. So for example, when we click the button once, the on click listener gets activated or it detects a click. But in case of a long click listener, when we click this button and hold it for a few seconds, the long click listener is going to get activated, or it is going to detect a long click for us. Now in order to create a long click listener, the syntax is pretty much the same as the on click listener, but there are few changes at some places. So in order to create a long click listener, we initially give the button name, which is my button. Then instead of using the set on click listener, we are going to use set on long click listener. So we type dot set long click listener, and inside it we are going to specify the interface. So the next line of code which we type is new button, as we are going to add it to the button, dot on long click listener. Then we are going to give two curly braces, and within these curly braces we are going to write in our callback method. So the callback method of the long click listener is going to be a bit different than the on click listener. So basically, instead of public void, this method is going to return a boolean value. So in order to create a callback method for this, we type public boolean, as it is going to return a boolean value, either true or false. Then we type on long click, and inside the parameters we specify the view, as we have done in the above case. And in curly braces we are going to specify the line of code which we want to execute. So in this case, when a user holds on the button for a long period of time, for let's say a few seconds, 2 or 3 seconds, then we want to display that this was a long click, and the text which we are trying to change here is going to be the my text. So basically we need a reference to my text, so we type text view my text equals, and we typecast it, so we type text view, and then we type find view by id, and inside it we specify r.id dot my text. Now once we have the reference to the text, the next thing which we do is that we set the text of this text view. So in order to do that, we type my text dot set text, and set text is basically a method which is used to change the text, and inside it we type long button press. Now once this is done, the next thing which we need to do is that, as this is a boolean, we need to return some value. So at the end we type return, and we have to return some boolean value. So let's return the value true, so we type return true. Now once this is done, we are pretty much done with adding the long click listener. So we save the code and we execute it on the emulator. So as you could see, our application is up and running on the emulator. So when I click this button right here, the text changed to button clicked, and when I click and hold this button right here, it is going to display the long button press, and that is because we have used the long click listener, which is used to identify long clicks. So that's how you implement multiple event listeners in a single activity. So in this tutorial what we have done is that, along with our on click listener, we have added another action listener, which is nothing but the long click listener, which listens to the longer clicks. So right below this action listener we have added up another action listener. So the basic structure of both the action listeners is one and the same. There are a few changes, such as the name of the listener. And finally, the major difference between the two listeners is that the callback method for this listener actually returns nothing, so it is specified void here. But in case of the long click listener, we need to specify, or we need to return the boolean value. So what we have done is that we have simply returned the value true at the end of. So that's it for this tutorial, and I hope you guys understood how you could add multiple action listeners to an activity so that various activities could be detected separately. So thank you very much for watching this tutorial, and I'll see you guys in the next tutorial. Thank you. Hello and welcome to this tutorial, and in this tutorial we are going to learn something about event handling. Now a event is nothing but when we are using our Android application and when we perform some action, like if we tap a button or if we drag and drop something onto the screen, or if we double tap the screen, then an event is said to be occurred. Now while developing our Android application, we need to use certain concepts for handling those events, and those concepts are nothing but they are called as the event handling. So event handling is basically used in order to handle the events which are caused due to the user interaction. So in this tutorial what we are going to do is that we are going to handle a simple event of clicking a button or tapping a button on your Android application. So basically in this tutorial what we are going to do is that we are going to have a large text and we are going to have a button, and when we tap the button or when we click the button, the content of the text is going to change to something else. So without wasting any time, let's get started with the tutorial. So the first thing which you need to do is that you either have to create a new project or you have to clean up the code from the previous project. So for example, in this I have removed each and every method which we have used, and in the content mail.xml I have removed each and every widget which was present on our activity screen. So once this is done, the next thing which we do is that as we are going to need large text, we simply go to widgets, drag this large text and drop it right over here. Now also we are going to need a button, so go to widgets, drag a button and drop it on your screen. Now once this is done, let's say we want to change the text of these to something else, so simply click on it and go to properties, and let's say this says hello world. The next thing which we do is we go to the button, select it, and inside the properties we change the text to, let's say, click me. Now once this is done, the next thing which we want to do is that we want to set IDs to the text as well as button, and that is because whenever we are using event handling, it is essential for us to mention ID for each and every thing which is present in our activity screen, so that while handling the events we could easily identify those. So in order to set the ID, we simply click the element. So for example, in this case we want to set the ID for the text right over here, so we simply click on it, then go to properties, and we are going to find the property which is named as ID. So as you could see, we have the ID as text view, so we need to change it. So simply click on it and change this to, let's say, my text, and we are going to do the same with the button. So we go on to the button and we want to change the ID. So instead of a button, we give the ID as my button. Now once we are done with this, as you could notice, when we click on the text or when we click on the button, you could have a little light bulb over here, and which signifies that we have a warning. So the next thing which we do is that we want to remove this warning. So you simply click on the text or you click on the button and you click the light bulb, and then just click on this arrow and then click on extract string resource. Now you want to name the resource something. So for the text, let's say we name the text as message text. So once this is done, we click on OK. Now we do the same thing with button. So we click on the button, click on this bulb right over here, then click on this arrow and click extract string resource, and let's say we name it as button text. Then we click OK. So once this is done, the next thing which we do is that if we want to change the text of either this or this, we simply go to our app folder, and inside the app folder we have a folder which is called as resources, which holds the resources for us, and inside